The secret of my success is to do the common things uncommonly well. John D. Rockefeller. And my friends, that is a great secret to success. Focus on the simple, as we say here over and over again. We use that acronym, keeps things simple and straightforward. That is exactly what we go for each and every day. All we are using on these charts is 3 time frames. The weekly, that is our long term, the intermediate, the 2-day, and the short term, the half day. And all we are looking for is trends on these charts on the weekly chart to get us in. And then we stay in as long as the charts are moving in the right direction. We do go ahead and set up an area with the average true range for perhaps selling half of our position. Maybe sell all of it at double the ATR. But again, at least sell half at 1 ATR and let the rest ride. That is a good rule. And again, you can practice trade all this stuff. It doesn't cost you anything except 10 to 15 minutes each and every day spending it with us. Let's look at where things are right now. We're doing this about 6 minutes before the day ends on Monday. We see the S&P 500 about flat. It's up 0.03%. NASDAQ up 0.30%. We see bonds, gold, and Bitcoin down. Let's jump first into the S&P 500. We can see here that price on the 2-day and the half-day is decently above the weekly trend line. As we look at the weekly trend line, and let's make sure we have that drawn correctly. We don't quite. We need to move. There we go. I could tell that wasn't quite right. Remember, bottom up, top down is the way you draw trend lines. In fact, I'm going to put the trend line training at the end of today's video so that you understand it a little better. We look at where volume was last week. Not so much as far as price movement, but volume was about average. Starting this week off okay. And again, not much price movement, but we do see things continuing after sliding sideways and continuing to tick up a little bit for those 3 weeks beginning April the 24th through the week beginning the 8th of May. We saw things just going along sideways a little bit. Last week moving up. This week starting off with a green up candle. We'll see. Again, just about flat for the day. You can see that on the half-day chart. We'll continue to watch as this week gets started. We look at the NASDAQ 100. We can see the tech stocks, unlike the S&P, continuing to move up pretty decently. They had sort of a 3-week sideways slide there too, ended earlier, and again ticking up faster. We look at where we are on the half-day, well above that weekly trend line, 2-day above it also. And again, a decent candle starting the week off. These are Heikin-Ashi candlesticks. That's showing you the average pace. Let's look at where things are with the 20-year U.S. government bond ETF. We can see where we have this purple ceiling where things have just bounced off of it several times. The latest one put us into a downtrend, which is continuing to trundle down for the day, 0.38%. We can see where the 2-day's pulling away from the weekly trend line. Half-day is well away from it and continuing down. So we'll keep an eye on things. Remember, the trade is in what? Tango, Bravo, Foxtrot. What is that? Tango, Bravo, Foxtrot. That is the single inverse of 20-year bonds. And it, of course, is going up, which is exactly what we want to see it do. So again, you can practice trade that. And we've been talking about that since this trade started. So keep that in mind. We have a good training. I put that out actually over the weekend. Inverse funds, how to make money when markets crash. That is a good one for you to study for your practice trades. Let's move on to gold. Gold also coming into a second week now of a inverse. Now gold, not as easy to find a good inverse fund. There is one, DPZ, Delta, Papa, Zulu. The problem with that is it is not very liquid, which means you've got a big spread between the bid and the ask. That's the quickest way to determine if a stock is liquid. What is liquidity? Well, that's the difference between what you pay for something and what you can sell it for. Like when you buy a new car and you drive it off the lot, can you drive it right back on the lot and get what you paid for it? No. But if you get a dollar bill at one store or say you get $100 out of the bank, can you go right down the street and spend that $100 without any loss? Yes. That's called a very liquid asset. Whereas a brand new car, not so liquid. I mean, sure, you could sell it, but you're going to take a loss. That's what we're talking about. Difference between the spread, the bid, and the ask, what you pay for it and what you can sell it for. So DPZ, not so liquid. So again, if you're a Patreon member, one of the 3 things you get the minute you sign up, it's emailed immediately to you, is the 3-part series, Options Made Simple, the Charting Wealth Way. We've got a great 3-part series. It teaches you how to practice trade options, both puts and calls. Simple, straightforward, very helpful. Also have we've got 2 good papers for our Patreon members on the Greeks. So you understand the delta, you understand all of the different Greeks that are ways to understand movement in options, how they're evaluated, and how to use those numbers to help you determine the value of an option on either a stock or an ETF as things move forward in time. Any of the 3 Patreon levels of support, you get those trainings. So I would encourage you, if you're interested, want a great way to support us and to get some great benefits, consider becoming a Patreon member. Now we look at where gold is going the second week of a down movement, not hitting the low of last week yet, but moving in the right direction. We can see price is below the 2-day on the weekly trend line on the 2-day and the same on the half-day. We can see where Friday things bumped up but sort of sliding sideways and down a little bit. On Monday, we'll see if that tracking continues. Lastly, we'll look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin just about down a little bit, 0.04%. I'm hoping that down movement is going to continue because I want Bitcoin to get back into being something that's trackable. We look at something like the S&P. I tell you this, I show you this all the time. Green to red, green to red, green to red makes it easy. Occasionally you'll have an anomaly, but that's occasionally. For the most part, everything is moving in discernible directions. When we go from the S&P to Bitcoin, you can see that it's just sloppy. It's not something that's clearly discernible. We want Bitcoin to get back to being discernible, moving it not randomly, but in directions that we can track so we can practice trade it. Because if it doesn't do that, you're just gambling. You're just taking a bunch of money and throwing it at the roulette table, which is not the way in the long term to win. What happens in the long term? The house wins. How do all those hotels and restaurants and palatial clubs and such get built in Vegas? They're built by the sucker's money. So don't be the sucker. That is where we are, folks, as we end the day on Monday and continue to push through this trading week. We so appreciate you being with us. Thank you so much, Patreon supporters, for underwriting the cost of the channel. And like I say quite often, the things you support tend to stay around. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.